Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Cargo Shorts, brought to you by Old Dominion Freight Line. I'm your host, Jonathan Betz, and today we're going to take a deep dive into how to deliver exceptional customer service. Anyone in business knows how important customer service is, but how do you deliver it successfully and consistently? What is the difference between a service and a truly unique experience? Joining me are two experts who know a lot about the value of exceptional service: Greg Plemmons, current Senior Vice President of Sales and incoming Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Old Dominion Freight Line, and Scott Deming, consultant, speaker, customer service expert, and author. Greg and Scott, it is great to have you both here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good to be with you.
So, Scott, let's start with you. I think everybody would say customer service is clearly important. There is survey after survey showing that customers value good service. And yet, the latest American Customer Satisfaction Index finds that customer service satisfaction is at a 17-year low. So, beyond the impact of the pandemic, why are so many customers dissatisfied these days?
I think the top reason is technology. I mean, we just don't have that human touch anymore. And, you can't get a voice if you have an issue with a product, you have an issue with your website, you have an issue with anything, you get the website. And you get, if you do call, you get the same recording for every company, no matter what time of day or night it is. We are experiencing higher than normal call volumes. And so, you just don't feel like anybody really cares about you. So I think that's the reason, number one reason for the real dissatisfaction. I think across many different industries, the service levels and the dissatisfaction levels vary, but I think you'll probably find the number one reason is because people don't feel like they're dealing with human beings anymore.
Yeah, good point. So, Greg, what's your perspective on this? Have you seen customer service change in the transportation industry over the last several years?
I don't think there's any question, Jonathan. I don't think there's a better case study than Old Dominion, to be honest with you. I mean, the company has been around for 90 years, but when we really hit our stride, when we really began outpacing the industry in top-line growth, bottom-line growth, and improved financial performance, operating efficiencies, was when the leadership team embraced the idea that we could become the premier service carrier in short haul and long haul markets served. It really hadn't been done by any other carrier in the industry, where they were the best in short haul markets and the best in long haul. They were great short haul carriers. They were great long haul carriers. So we really embraced that idea in the late 90s. Greg Gant, our current CEO, led that charge. It really is that mission that has led us to become the fastest growing and the most profitable LTL company in the business.
I mean, you talk about embracing that mindset at the time. Was that a difficult decision? Was that something that came with its own risk?
I think it did. To be honest, the service mindset was different. There are risks in committing to running the schedule, whether it's full or half full or a third full. That's costly to do. We had to wrap our minds around investing, making those investments in service quality. But the benefits came very soon after we made those changes. And we began running the schedules, and we found that, wow, okay, the trucks are filling up. Customers, they like the predictability. They like the quality of the service. They like being able to plan. It really was the genesis of what we've become today, the premier carrier in LTL market served.
But Scott, this is so much more than just being able to get in touch with a human. I know that you have talked about how product is secondary and that experience is really paramount here. So what do you mean by that, and how does that tie into what we're talking about when it comes to customer service?
What I say is, you're not in the freight business serving people, you're in the human business offering unique freight solutions. And when you think of it that way, you'll tend to start being less transactional and pragmatic and more relational, emotionally branding type of a mentality. You'll focus on the solutions based on what you think the customer is going to really love, instead of saying, okay, these are our products and services, these are our features and benefits. Now let's figure out a way to get it to that human being. So it's just really changing your perspective a little bit, flipping it, putting your focus on the relationships and on the experiences and on the ability to build customer loyalty, quite honestly. You have to have process. You have to have really, really great product and service, but you can't make that your focus. You have to make, how is this making a difference for the customer? That's your focus. And then you bring that product and service to them.
Customers tell us some customers prefer to deal with us, someone at the local service center. Others prefer to call in to our centralized customer service. Others prefer to interact with us digitally, right? They prefer to email or text or use, the online tools that we offer. So we've invested heavily in all those areas, and we work really hard to ensure that customers can engage with Old Dominion in whatever way best suits their needs. And we want them to have a consistent experience across all those touch points.
Yeah, sometimes those online tools and technology can actually help customer service. I mean, Scott, you talked about this earlier, the technology factor in all of this when it comes to customer service, and sometimes it can drive negative perception. So how much, is the fact that so many people are doing everything online now, especially their interactions with their companies, how much of that is driving this perception that good service is rare, and how do companies counterbalance that perception?
Quite honestly, I think companies need to start focusing more on the customer experience and the customer satisfaction than on profits. And look, don't get me wrong, I've been in business for myself for 30 something years, and everybody needs to make a profit, but there's a difference between good profit and bad profit. And if a company is cutting all sorts of customer interactions and customer experiences for the sake of a profit, that's a bad profit. So I think companies need to look at what is really impacting this perception. How can we fix it? Is there a way that we can have a hybrid model where we do have easy access to human beings? It may cost us a little more. We can do it virtually. We don't have to have brick and mortar. But I think that these organizations need to really take a look at what they're doing to make more money, and how it is impacting the customer experience, and how it's churning their customer base.
Greg, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts on what companies need to think about to better meet their customer needs?
I think Scott makes a great point there. It would be much less expensive for us probably to offshore our customer service or to otherwise, farm it out. Our customers tell us they like, in many cases, to speak to a human, and more often than not, they like to speak with the same human, right? Someone who understands their business, understands their needs. And so we staff and train all of our 255 service centers to handle whatever customer needs are. And that's a conscious choice on our part. It's not the low-cost option for us, but we believe it's a good investment.
Yeah, a lot of this goes hand in hand. So, Greg, let's talk further about this perspective. How do you think a service mindset impacts the company's culture?
In order to develop and nurture a service culture, companies really has to treat the team members like customers, really, in many ways. I think it's critical that there's open two-way communication between leadership at all levels and the teams that serve our customers. Everyone on the team has to understand their role. And I think it's equally important that everyone on the team understands what we call WIFM, the what's in it for me. Along with excellent performance, service quality, comes better financial performance. And along with that, comes annual increases, better benefits, nicer facilities, newer equipment, 401k matches, and all the things that are bred from success.
Well, I love that whiff of what's in it for me, Scott.
Yeah,
I feel like that.
Can I add?
Yeah.
Can I add to what Greg just said?
Yeah.
He said everybody in the organization. Even if a lot of people get kind of hung up on if you're a customer service representative or if you're a sales rep, if you're facing the customer all the time, you're the only person that has to worry about customer experience, customer service. It's not true. If you never face a customer, your attitude seeps out into the organization. If you've got a bad attitude, it creates an attitude in the internal area that actually affects and impacts the external. So I think it's just important that everybody realizes customer service starts with everybody, not just the person who faces a customer.
But Scott, if you're a boss, if you're a leader, how do you get everybody on board with that? How do you motivate the employees to take this seriously and to prioritize this?
You have to be a person who can actually transfer your vision, your mission, your purpose. I mean, if you're in leadership, you have to have the ability to say, this is what we stand for. And then you have to walk that talk. You can't just say it. You can't just send emails out. So if you're a boss, you're a leader, you're a supervisor, and you're trying to motivate people to do the right thing, you have to make them feel like they're making a difference. You have to make them feel like they're doing something meaningful.
So, Greg, let's talk about competitors and how you can use customer service as a way to distinguish yourself from the others in the pack. So, where does customer service come into play, when it comes to making the difference in regards to satisfaction and loyalty?
No, you're right, Jonathan. We do have competitors, and they all have trucks, and they all have docks and forklifts and all the things that we have out there to do our jobs. It's just critical that every person throughout the organization understands the mission and why their role is important to that mission. And the example I would use is maybe a dock team member on a cold dock in the middle of the night. We need that person to make the right decision. The decision to use an extra strap or to use an airbag or to use some extra dunnage. And the only way to make that happen is for that person to understand that they take a shortcut, it's not benefiting them or the customer. So in our business, we need loyal customers that are going to ship with Old Dominion day after day, week after week for years. And the way we earn those loyal customers is, again, to have every employee bought in on the mission and understanding that every shipment, every dock transfer, every interaction with a customer has to be excellent.
Hey, Jonathan, just real quick, just to add to what Greg said about their role. Employees need to understand, and this comes from leadership, that their role is different from their job title and their job description. Their role is whatever it takes to make this the most amazing brand on the planet. Their job description and the pay commensurate with that job title and all that, that's a whole different thing.
That's a good point. So go further with this, Scott. And I want to talk kind of about uncommon service here. Like, what are some of the short and long-term benefits for companies in delivering uncommon service? And more to the point, how do you quantify that?
Yeah, that's the real question. Well, the short term is this. The short term is if you're delivering uncommon service in a very common environment, which it is, people are transactional at best, as I've said many times. The short benefit is you're going to get noticed. The long term is customer loyalty. It's a lot cheaper to hold on to an existing customer than it is to go after and try to figure out a way to cultivate a brand new customer. So I think that's the short is, wow, people are going to talk about you. The long term is now you got loyalty. And you know what? You want to quantify it? Take a look at your churn rate, and that's going to tell you if it's working or not.
So, Greg, how do you go about holding on to customers and making sure that the satisfied customers turn into loyal customers?
Yeah, that's the trick. Satisfied customers are going to stay with you until the cheaper price comes along. And equally, a satisfied employee is going to stay until a better offer comes along. So in our business, we need loyal customers. We need customers that are going to ship with Old Dominion day after day, week after week for years. And the way to earn those loyal customers is to have loyal employees that understand their job and feel appreciated for doing it.
So then what do you say to other executives, other business leaders, both within the trucking industry and beyond, who maybe don't think that customer service should be prioritized? They say it's important, but maybe not the most important thing. What do you say to them about that?
I would challenge them to take a chance to invest in service at all levels. And really that, I think, begins with investing in your people and making sure that they have not only the equipment and the tools to do their job, but the training, the education, and the understanding of the mission. And once you have the buy-in of the team, I think the sky's the limit, and customers will appreciate that service, and they'll move from the satisfied category to the loyal category in short order.
Well, it certainly is an investment, customer services, and it's something that must be a constant focus, I feel like. We'll leave it there. Greg and Scott, we want to thank you both for sharing your thoughts on this. And certainly in business, we are always looking for ways to better understand customer needs and the challenges, and you have given us a lot to consider on the value of exceptional service and, frankly, how to deliver it. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out our full Cargo Shorts podcast series. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, and Google Podcast. Visit the OD Outlook section on odfl.com, linked in the show notes, to find additional information and materials on this topic. Thanks for listening.